name is Cassie Jaye. I'm a documentary filmmaker, and my film Daddy I Do is screening tonight at the Roxy Theater at 6 p.m. Daddy I Do is a feature-length documentary, 90 minutes, about abstinence-only programs versus comprehensive sex education, which is a huge battle politically right now. So basically we followed the Silver Ring thing, which is a big abstinence-only program. We also followed purity balls, which is a father-daughter dance where girls as young as 6 years old vow to remain a virgin until marriage to their father. And we interviewed people who participated in the programs and who also came out of it and how their lives ended up and the choices they made. And it's a journey film. It'll make you laugh, it'll make you cry. It took us about 2 years to complete, and Bare Bones is our third screening. And next month we go to the 2010 Cannes Independent Film Festival. So yeah, Jaybird Productions, www.jayebirdproductions.com. And yeah, that's basically what we're doing.
Your hand, everybody. Yeah. All right, young lady. How did you finance your picture? Now, repeat the question for me, so because my wife will come back.
Okay. We financed Daddy I Do entirely out of pocket. So it was slim pickings and entirely bare bones. It ended up being just under 25 grand. So, you know, price of a car, I guess. But it took us about two years, and most of the funding went towards traveling. So, and also the equipment. The equipment alone was about 10 grand. So, yeah.
What was the worst thing you guys did? One biggest mistake that you made?
Not rolling, because when you do it, oh, I'm sorry, the worst mistake we did on Daddy I Do was opportunities when we should have been filming and you missed it, because, you know, documentaries is real life and things come out of the blue that you don't plan. So there were maybe 2 instances where I wish we were filming and didn't have a camera on us or the battery was dead or something. But for the most part, we got a lot of good moments that our kids made.
What was the biggest surprise you got from the people that you were interviewing?
The biggest surprise we got from the people we were interviewing was just how open they became to us, just sharing their life stories, and I think one of the questions that we developed, because it was our first film, so we didn't really know what we were doing. We were learning along the way. But the best question we developed was, what was the worst experience in your life? And when you ask someone that, you really learn a lot about them. You know, and that's when they really start to open up. But you can't do that for a couple hours after you've already been interviewing them, because they're still getting prepared to be on camera.
So. What is the one thing about financing it yourself that was your biggest drawback?
Let's see. The worst part about financing it on our own was not being able to spend money on things that would have elevated the quality or been better opportunities for us to travel and meet people. There were definitely people in New York that we wanted to interview that we just couldn't financially support. So if we had outside investors, then we would have had a lot more opportunities, which would have been great. But we worked within our means, and I think we were more creative for it. When you are working on a budget, you have to find ways to cut corners, and it ends up being a very, you know, creative style in the end.
What was the impetus for making this particular film?
Well, I made Daddy I Do as my first film because I participated in abstinence-only programs when I was a teenager. So when I decided to go behind the camera, I was acting at the time in LA, and I wanted more control over the films that I was a part of and the message behind them. And so I decided to make a documentary because I was becoming a lot more politically aware at the time. And my mom said to stay within what you know. They say if you're a writer, write what you know. So I figured film what you know, and I knew a lot about this movement, and you know, the for and the against side, because it's a political issue where people usually take one side or the other. So I knew both sides, and that definitely helped in making a fairly balanced film in the end.
So what surprised you in the process? Besides sharing, what was it that you walked away and said, wow, I learned such a thing?
Well, what surprised me, and I worked with my mom and my sister. My mom was the cinematographer, my sister was the producer, so it was a family project. And we went into it just planning on filming purity balls, and that was all that the film was going to be about. And when we started researching it more and more, we realized how much bigger of an issue sex education in America is, and how it doesn't just affect when people decide to become sexually active, but it also affects decisions they make later in life, and a lot of the repercussions of sex education are teen pregnancy, STDs obviously, abortion. And two things that surprised us were poverty levels because of teen pregnancy and sexual abuse rates because of misinformation. Kids not knowing anything about it growing up, so they're more likely to be in a situation where they don't know what's wrong or bad. So those were probably the biggest eye-openers for my mom, my sister, and I. Were we had no idea how many other things sex education affected.
Very good. All right, give a hand to everybody.